I absolutely love the way that Fox News has framed this story. Boxer Jake Paul blasts Biden for gas prices inflation, claims Biden voters are the American problem. I mean, in all honesty, that's a brutal statement. He said Biden accomplishments, highest gas prices, worst inflation, plummeting crypto prices. That one made me laugh. Highest rent prices ever. Created new incomprehensible language. Bravo, Jake Paul. That was amazing.
And I don't think he's like a big conservative dude.
No,
like he goes
not.
after Dana White from the UFC, the way he treats fighters, and I think has talked about like unionizing. I saw him do like either him or his brother Logan did like a Black Lives Matter thing for. Yeah, he's not like a super like right wing dude.
That's he says if you're reading this and voted for Biden and you still don't regret it, then you are the American problem. Oof. So seeing that and you hit the nail on the head. He's not like a conservative guy. You don't have. I think we've already seen it with people like Elon Musk. People who are not conservative are being like, hey, I'm kind of reading the writing on the wall and I can see how bad this is. We had a friend of mine out recently who's like, fairly liberal, who was just like, man, I don't know, I kind of regret this. Things are getting really bad.
Yeah.
So, but just an honorable mention real quick for them calling him a boxer.
Well,
he is.
That was
He's 5-0.
And this is another thing.
Yeah,
People
he's
who are
really
not
5-0?
into
4 knockouts.
Yeah.
Boxing
He's a
legend
beast.
Jake Paul.
And this is the thing. People who are not into politics are being forced into politics because of the way of how extraordinary this great reset is going in a way where it's just unavoidable. Everything now is politics, and it's slowly becoming that with every political cycle. But I think now it's becoming more unavoidable than ever.
If you don't take an interest in politics, politics will take an interest in you.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Like a Plato
True,
quote, I think.
yeah.
Pericles.
Oh, okay. It's been around since the Greeks.
Oh, I thought it was a Jake Paul quote.
Close enough.
The thing about tribalism too is I was thinking about this with the drag shows last week, watching some of my friends on the left almost feel like they had to defend it just because like that's what the left does. And I think with tribalism in general, it should be so easy. Like what Jake Paul is doing should be the norm, right? Like I remember when I was against drone strikes under Bush, and then Obama, who I liked and voted for, when he was doing it too, I was like, well, this is still bad. It's not like it's a cooler drone because it's Obama. It's still, so even if you voted for Biden or if you're a Democrat, you should actually be the most outraged when something goes wrong and feel free to call it out, not feel like, oh man, I guess I have to defend Biden. It's like, no, you don't, dude. Not if you don't want to.
Exactly.
But also, this is an opportunity for progressives to be like, we told you not to do Biden. We told you to do Bernie.
That is
been
also
so
true.
much better, man.
I mean, I'm not saying Bernie. I think Bernie would have done better for sure.
Yeah, his mind was there at least.
Yeah.
Exactly.
true.
I don't know how much better. I think things are going really well under Trump. I think Bernie kind of sold out quite a bit. I was watching that Lindsey Graham Bernie thing a little bit, but I feel like a box of rocks would be better than Biden at this point.
Biden was the last thing I think a lot of liberals wanted, and then they doubled down like it was the greatest thing ever.
That was a tough one to watch. The whole, I can't stand that guy, so I'm voting for anything else.
Yeah.
I hope that never happens again because it was televised and it's been recorded now. At least we know what happens.
It happens every 4 years.
It's does it?
Yeah.
I
Hillary
guess-
Clinton.
Yeah, that 2016 election was another version of that, I think.
But people like Trump, man. For a lot of people, the more bombastic he was, the more they liked him because he was pushing back on this machine,
I'm glad I finally just get to admit publicly that he was hilarious.
He was, yeah.
I wouldn't
true.
vote for him, but man, oh man,
He's
was
really
that guy
funny,
funny.
yeah.
And that was the craziest thing to me. I remember it was like 2017 and 18. I'm just laughing nonstop at this guy. And I'm like, people were so angry. And I'm like, he's funny.
The funniest thing.
Horse face. Come on.
When he, this one was so simple, but it's the one that popped me the hardest, is during the Democratic debate, he literally just tweeted, boring.
Yeah, I loved it.
I was like, hell yeah,
So
dog.
good.
That rules. That's the political commentary I am here for.
That's the reality. And then I guess people just didn't like the mean tweets. And so they're what's really funny? Actually, I'll put it this way. There's a viral meme going around called Donald Trump predicted everything that's happening. Have you guys seen it?
No.
It's literally just like one Trump rally where Trump is like, he's going to shut down your oil and gas industry.
no.
Yeah, it's true.
You're going to see the highest gas prices. There's going to be a wave of immigrants coming across the border. And I'm like, oh, check. And this got me thinking, too, the craziest thing about it. Do you guys remember Joe Biden said he was going to transition off gas?
He was
Off
Yeah,
fossil
lying.
fuels.
in the debate.
Right. He's outright. And so when I say, I said this last week, when you're looking at your gas prices, if you're an environmentalist, anti-climate change person, your only option is to be like, to accept the problem. Because Joe Biden said he wanted to fight climate change. Joe Biden said he wanted to get off fossil fuels. That's what he's trying to do. here we go.
Okay, so that was actually my question because I remember the people liked me last time I was on the show because I asked questions instead of just yelling
Yeah, it's
talking
great.
point. So I legitimately don't know the answer to this. This is going to sound like it's a rhetorical. Well, what do the conservatives want to do? But what do the conservatives want to do? Like, is there a solution that there? Because everyone's furious, right?
Yeah.
But what are people saying? Like, what would Biden have to do? What are people asking him to do that would actually make the prices go down?
Let me take the non-conservative approach right away and just talk. The rational approach is we need to start building nuclear power plants
Yep.
ASAP.
Yes.
The Green New Deal needs to actually be about green energy.
Yeah.
So this is like I'll mention the conservative stuff in a second, but if the Green New Deal was like we will invest X amount of dollars into wind turbines in these areas, we will open up these areas for geothermal, or then I'd be like, well, it looks like we got a plan.
That all
like,
sounds progressive and wonderful.
But it's not. That's not what's in it.
Right.
What's in it is like free healthcare for marginalized
So
people
weird,
and like
yeah.
college and stuff like that. And it was a resolution that never actually proposed any of this stuff in the first place. And right away, I'm just like, okay, well, the progressive solution should be draft an actual bill addressing the expansion of green energy. I suppose what they'll do is they'll say the Build Back Better bill.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be like, but that was just so much. That's $5 trillion of random other things. So I will say right off the bat, we got to get over this stigma of nuclear power. The conservatives are outright just saying, give the permits back for oil and gas leases because they shut some down in the Gulf, in Alaska, and on federal lands. Some of these were due to court rulings, challenges by environmentalists, not because Biden was doing it. Biden ultimately pulled them because of losing court cases. What is it? Keystone Pipeline, turn it back on. That'll alleviate some of the speculative pressures.
Oh no, I remember protesting that.
Right, exactly.
No.
Well, so this one,
Oops, sorry y'all.
Thanks, Jamie.
it's a little more.
Thanks for shutting it down.
Deregulate.
Me and my bullet casings will go elsewhere.
No, goodbye.
Conservatives want a removal of certain regulations that make it harder for oil and gas exploration.
Yeah.
So, we talk about why aren't we seeing more oil companies going to certain areas and trying to start developing more oil? Is because it's difficult because there's government regulations. So the cost benefit analysis is we shouldn't invest the money here because it's not going to pay out in the long run. It is complicated, to be completely honest. Saudi Arabia plays a big role.
Yep.
Because they're either overproducing or underproducing, which changes things. The war with Ukraine and Russia absolutely plays a big role. But to put it simply, oil exploration, alleviate some of the tensions on regulations, bring allow these leases back on federal lands. If it were Donald Trump as president, he would convene the CEOs of all these companies immediately. He would say, tell me what you need to get the prices down, and they'd have a plan.
Or just very simply undo everything that the Biden administration has done, because everything they have
But
done
Trump
is
was-
standing in the way of businessmen, is standing in the way of people being able to fix this problem with, of course, regulations, taxes, and big government bureaucrats who want their cut of the middle and are standing in the way of actual things that could help the people, that could help the environment, but we're not focusing on any of
So
that.
that was my follow-up question is, as a table of people who I think are as suspect of corporations as we are the government, is by loosening those regulations and giving more control to the corporations, do we trust them to do the right things, like the oil and gas
No, they're
companies?
profit motive
Right.
driven.
So
I
that's
think-
the problem there too, right?
Yeah, I'd
but-
like to see like a focus on biodiesel and teaching people how to make biodiesel that's legitimate, like pure and clean, that we can regulate and use. But
Yeah.
relying on corporations to do it, they're going to have profit motive as their
Totally.
Yeah,
number
but
one.
let's get back to nuclear a little bit, because like there's a big misperception about modern nuclear versus like old school nuclear, which is super nasty. Like this is actually one of the few things. I don't know if you've seen the Bill Gates documentary on Netflix. One of the few things that Bill Gates has actually invested in, which is actually kind of interesting.
This guy's defending Bill Gates over here.
I
don't know.
I would say Bill Gates. What?
You're amongst friends.
I'm going to slide my bullet casings over to him.
He's an Epstein freak show, but his nuclear power plants are actually really interesting because the waste is extremely minimal. I think they're actually powered by waste, and the risk of meltdown is just vastly less. So like Trump was not talking about nuclear. Like no one's talking about. They're afraid to talk about nuclear, even though the technology has evolved so much.
I've heard
Progressives
Michael
don't want it.
Schellenberger, who's running against Newsom.
Yeah, he just lost.
He was the only guy I've heard
That was
talk
sad.
about it where I was like, oh, this makes sense. It was the first
Yeah.
time I heard it. Yeah.
He's super smart.
You can
Love
also,
that guy.
fusion is another kind of nuclear. So you got fission, you got fusion, completely different processes. They're both called nuclear because it's ignorance, basically. Fusion's completely, I mean, once you give, if you can ignite fusion and get it going, it basically gives you an unlimited fuel supply. I think that's That scares people in power.
Yeah. Jamie, I want to push back on your point here just a little bit,
Yeah.
especially when it comes to the public-private sector debate, especially when it comes to the larger topic that we're discussing here, the Biden administration, because what we essentially have here is the government, the Biden administration, picking and choosing what corporations are going to prosper, which ones are not. So when you look at the Green New Deal, when you look at all the proposals that he's pushing, it's directly going to benefit countries that he has business dealings with his son, like China, especially when they are the ones getting the raw minerals to get the solar panels, to get the batteries. So when you look at any kind of corporation, the most powerful ones, the most unaccountable ones, are the ones that have friends in Washington D.C.
Yes. No, I agree with that.
And my argument that you kind of countered back on and asked the question on, do we trust these corporations? No, obviously, but it's because of the government intervening and directly playing a key role in which corporation does well and which corporation does not well.
Yep.
I agree with that last part. I don't trust the corporations either way.
I don't trust anybody.
But that last part's spot on.
But when it comes to the free market and allowing individuals to choose what they want, giving them choice, giving them decentralization rather than the monopoly of force, government coming in and saying you can only buy from this corporation, you can only buy solar, is the problem because it leads to more problems. It leads to the government abusing their power.
Let me point out too that there was a chart I was looking at last week that shows the Trump administration's last year, which showed inflation and wages were stable. And then a month after, or like a couple weeks after Biden is inaugurated, it inverts. Wages collapse, inflation skyrockets. It's been a year and a half, and Biden, it's still on track going the exact same direction. So certainly by now, Biden could have done something. So I think the issue with gas prices too, it's not just about the direct regulations and policies on gas. I know a lot of people immediately say like, what has Biden done directly to affect gas prices? You can also come out and just be like, the unemployment benefits expansion, which I understand had good intentions, but then you're flooding the market with the mass release of currency, which is going to devalue the currency. So even if Biden didn't do anything on these other issues, Keystone was big because that caused massive speculation. If he did nothing other than the economic policy, which results in inflation, gas will go up along with it because you got to pay truckers. One of the things about Keystone that's so brutal is that how do we get oil shipped if we're not doing it by pipeline? Freighters, trucks. That's even worse. It takes fuel to transport. You put in a big pipe. There's fears about leaks. Totally get it. I think the big issue is, it's fair to say, we're addicted to oil. And I don't mean that to be a dick, but I mean, we built a civilization off of fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are incredible. The energy return on energy invested is absolutely amazing. And so we were able to literally create human life. When we build these machines that can harvest a field faster and better, then all of a sudden people are fat and happy. They're fed. They're going to have babies. They need tons of babies. But you're going to need that resource to maintain that level of life as well.
It freed the slaves. You brought this up a while ago. It was the steam-powered engine in the Industrial Revolution in the 1800s that basically gave, it was the cotton gin is the big part of it, but it opens up, the fossil fuels have opened us up to no longer be slaves to labor in a lot of ways.
Yep. But
to what you were saying, Luke, about Biden picking favorites, he won't even mention Elon Musk with regards to electric cars or solar. It's like,
isn't that wild?
talk about the players in the industry.
No,
Elon has a low ESG score. Right? He's been kicked out of the ESG. He has a renewable energy car company that's a pioneer in its field. And again, lots of critical things I could say about Elon, but in that particular field, all the green people or the peaceniks should be all happy and
But
goofy
he
all over him.
tweeted a meme with Tim Pool, dog.
Exactly. So he tweets interesting things now, and he's the main person that pushes the kind of narrative, pushes the conversation, and that's why he's the one that's being attacked.
If you want to strike back against tribalism, that is a moment where you go, you know what? I don't agree with Elon Musk, but he's trying to do something to help us with our energy addiction. I want to do it. Let's come together and get people from all sides to do this thing that shouldn't be political.
It's okay to agree with someone on a single topic. You're not endorsing their entire
life.
Yeah.
Regarding this mass printing of money, I've kind of had a moment of clarity. They're basing it on what's called modern monetary theory, invented shortly after World War II, I think, thereabouts. And the idea is you print as much as you need to stimulate and to build your infrastructure so that you can produce things. But what's happening now is they're using that idea, we're going to print as much as we need so that, fill in the blank, they're just giving it away to people's bank accounts. They're not building the infrastructure that modern monetary theory needs.
The special private interests, their buddies in the upper echelons in the establishment are getting secret Federal Reserve bailouts, and they're getting money that, of course, makes sure that they never lose money. When they make money, their profits are theirs. But when they lose money, they have losses, the Federal Reserve literally steps in, Biden's like, yeah, we'll cover that for you. Don't worry about that.
Yeah.
That's not a free market.
No, and it's not modern monetary theory. They're calling it that, but it's an aberration of that system, and it's basically just liquidation of the U.S. economy.
No. It's the modern, largest transfer of wealth in recorded human history that's happening right in front of our eyes. It started in 2008 during the housing market crisis. Ben Bernanke was literally orchestrating secret international bailouts of financial institutions all around the world with the power of the Federal Reserve that literally just went on the computer and just typed in 0000. Here you go. Well, here's the money. Meanwhile, you have to work for it. You have to slave for it. You have to work a 9-to-5 job for it. The bankers created a system, 0000, mine. Good luck, peasant slave. We're going to devalue the dollar. Good luck paying for food this week or this month, whatever the hell it is. People are getting screwed over royally. And this is why Jake Paul saying this is so important right now, because it brings this point to a reality that a lot of people can't ignore.
It's not just that. It's a barometer. Jake Paul coming out and saying it. How many more people do you think are thinking the exact same thing who are not political people?
Right.
So it's like that joke. I think it was from Simpsons, the Family Guy, where they're like, "We received 7 complaints last night. That means 80 billion people were upset."
Simpsons,
you know,
yeah.
Simpsons. That's what it was. Yeah.
Well, it's like ignoring, if you're sick and you ignore your sickness. It's like looking at Biden and how he literally cannot communicate.
Yeah.
And people are just afraid to confront that illness that, like, our society has.
If I go to the doctor, they'll tell me that I'm sick, and I don't want to think I'm sick.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's on purpose, though. That I think that is made to be a distraction for the larger agenda that he is pushing, that is directly benefiting the people who are on the ship, robbing and looting everything for themselves as the ship is sinking. The ship is the United States. It's going down. And there's a lot of criminals out there that are taking everything they can for themselves.
They're not criminals because they don't adhere to government law, because they're multinational. They don't have a country that they have to play by the rules of. It's got the Bank for International Settlements in Switzerland that they're running money through, and they're just siphoning our wealth. It's insane.
Yep. Let's pull up this story, and then we'll keep going on that idea. So we have this from the Wall Street Journal. S&P 500 enters bear market as Dow and NASDAQ fall.
Guys, I don't have a savings account. I don't know what any of those words mean.
Yeah.
You're screwed.
Help.
It means bad. It means bad.
Give it
Got
to
it.
us.
Got it.
And I will also point out that one of the reasons Jake Paul slammed Joe Biden, I think the main reason was right there in the middle. His crypto portfolio probably tanked, and he was like, So a lot of people bought into crypto, and I think crypto's fantastic. I'm not selling. Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.